here to share this time with Ted and with the Penn rowing program. It's nice getting caught up. We all have our stories about the old rowing tanks, what it was like, and to look at the new facility, I can only say, wow. You know, I remember it might have been my sophomore year of being in the rowing tanks, and one of the maintenance guys put a little too much chlorine in there. And Otto Steckel and Terry Eckert and Walter Myhr is there and there churning away with Ted, and I guess they started creating chlorine gas, you know? And people started going harder because it started to hurt more, you know? And then guys' eyes were starting to blow over and everything, and it was a great time, great experience. I think Fred Leonard watched us in the lightweights. We were allowed to go out on the stadium and we didn't have to participate in the tank session. But it's so appropriate to have the Land Training Center named after Ted for somebody who, the heavyweights spent quite a bit of time doing land training down here. I don't know if they ever used the rifle range that used to be down here, but it might have been part of it. But me personally, I want to thank Ted because Ted's the person that gave me my biggest break in coaching. Fred Leonard hired me, but Ted hired me as freshman heavyweight coach, as a full-time coach. I think it was about $17,000 back then, Ted. That was big money. That was big money. And Ted used to advise me on my...
$5,000 too much.
Ted used to advise me on my retirement fund and all, but when I started working with Ted, I was still a little loosey-goosey, not quite, you know, doing things the way he wanted. And some of you guys remember, Ted used to like to leave notes for everybody, you know? So he would leave notes for me, and remember the old notes your secretary would write? It was the pink pad that said, you know, from, who, whatever, those kinds of things. And Ted would leave notes and I wouldn't pay attention to him. And he'd say, well, did you call this guy? Did you do that? I said, no, I'm getting to him, you know. So one day I come in the office, and on my office chair, there was one of those spikes, you know, one of those nails with all these pink slips on it that Ted put on here with old notes for me to do. But I found that pretty funny, so I had to attend to it before I could sit down. But Ted taught me many things. He taught me how to do development very well, which ended up being my career right now, as well as coaching. Ted taught me recruiting better than anybody. He was the first guy to really start recruiting hard in college, and he taught me everything about it. And I couldn't. It's a shame I threw away a slip of paper, but Ted used to tell me we used to have like 120 or 140 guys apply to Penn in order to have a good yield out of the class. And back then we probably got more help in admissions administrators. You hear that? We probably got more specials and things like that back then. But Ted, I always thought we started making calls at night and everything, and one night we even hired a freshman football coach, Chuck Miller, to make calls for us. John's here. He used to call you guys. He knew nothing. This guy knew nothing about rowing. He knew a hell of a lot about football, but he was great on the phone.
And in person.
Yep, and we would have him on here calling people at night. And so we were going, and I always thought Ted would have been a great football coach. I mean, can you picture Ted on the sidelines doing everything he needed to do and all? So we're getting our list together for, Steve Bilski was the admissions liaison then, and we're getting our list together to hand in. So we have slips of paper, you know, we have stuff written down, the master sheet slips written down, and I have all these slips cut, and we have 120 slips, you know? And Ted's saying we got to submit all 120 guys. And I'm saying to Ted, it's crazy, they're not going to let all 120 guys in. He said, we got to do it, otherwise we're going to cut back. They're going to cut back on us. So Ted and I would be arguing. The list would be due the next day. It was like doing your taxes. We'd be arguing over number 45. You know, whether 45 should be 45 or 43, or maybe it's 48. So they were good times, Ted. And fortunately, I was able to spend some time with Ted on national team trips. I was there in the 80s when Ted Score won the World Championships, which is the first gold medal the U.S. got in a long time. But I was just at Penn at a great time with being on the lightweight team, interacting with the heavyweights, and then we would get to join with the heavyweights up for the IRA and be part of the 10-Ike effort. We won the 10-Ike, I think, 3 years in a row. we were able to contribute points, and this will be the last thing I said. Ted's famous line, one year we get up to Syracuse and it's really hot. So we have a big team meeting, we're out there, and Heidi's outside. I think he's doing Elvis Presley and James Brown and things like that, keeping the crowd going.
Don't you know it, brother?
Ted's talking to everybody, so he says, all right, listen, all you guys, I want everybody wearing a white hat when they go out to practice. Lightweights, you guys wear 2 white hats, because you lose weight a lot faster than heavyweights. So anyway, I'm happy to turn it over to Ted Nash.
Can you hear in the back at all? Can anybody hear this in the back?
Of course they can.
All right. Where's the volume? Hello, 1, 2, okay. Anyway, we'll hope for the best. Anyway, we're going to try to make this, we're going to try to do this in less time than it was designed to be, because there are a lot of people standing. And we want to make sure that you're comfortable as soon as we possibly can do it. There is another thing which I hope you'll stay for that I want to present at, in about 28 minutes about Penn and the history of something that happened, and it's pretty exciting. And so I hope you'll stay with that. The rest of it's kind of mundane, but at the same time is important. And that's to talk about why we have these beautiful developments and the changes and the tanks and everything that's here. So we'll talk about the hardcore stuff first, and then if you'll stay with us, several of the coaches, present coaches, will be speaking, and then I'll kind of give it a go based on what we think is an awful fun thing to know about. Okay, so I say good evening to all, and at this Ted Nash land-based indoor rowing center. It's an awful lot of words. I'm proud to have my name associated with it, and we think it's going to be a beautiful place. There's more to do, but the coaches are unbelievable here. They're working their butts off all the time, and this dedication has tremendous value for all the rowing teams at the University of Pennsylvania. A very big thank you to all who helped create the energy and the funds to build this much needed facility. And a very big thank you to the UPenn Athletic Department planners and staff, of which several are here, and I'm proud that they are here with us. But mostly I'm proud of you all. Your names ought to be on these walls. I'm grateful and humbled by this honor and this reception and your presence here. It's a big deal. It means so much to my wife Janet and myself. So we thank you for being here. Of all the Ivy League and the major independents, UPenn was once the only big-time rowing school to have no modern adjustable rowing tanks, no workable flow tanks, no ergo pool, and by the way, we have 130 ergos here in this process. 130 ergos. Know what it means? No, I better not tell you. But anyway, if all the athletes wanted to row at the same time and save time for studies, for travel, for whatever, it all can be done in these big rooms full of ergos and meeting rooms, right? This is a major step forward for all our men's and women's teams. The benefits are many and they're clear. Let me tell you how valuable this rowing flow tanks can be. They are a simple and an easy to use one-on-one method to teach a novice. Why would you do that? You want to teach them both sides, port and starboard. I know Olympic guys that can't row the other side, right? So what's important? That you can spend the time to teach everybody to row both sides. It doesn't seem like much of a thing, but think of it. What an advantage for he or she, the coaches, to have those capabilities of the athlete being able to row both sides. It's like, it's a golden thing. So we teach even Olympians how to row both sides, port and starboard. Thus twice as valuable. Okay, our athletes have regular motion photo wave coaching. You know what that is? You don't know. You will. You will, because it's big time. and the blade is in the water and nobody sees it, but the camera does. So we'll tell you about that later. Motion, photo, wave coaching, and of course traditional endurance training, okay? In 2004, our USA Olympic coaching and national staff were preparing the men's U.S. team at Princeton, New Jersey, at Princeton U. The men's cruise had not been going as well as the coaches wanted. And Mike Tatey, Chris Korzanowski, myself, and others wanted a lot better than what we saw. The cruise seemed mechanical, so we tried, and we decided to try an extra short, light session of 45 minutes between the AM and PM normal workouts, for details only and not for power. Athens, Greece was rapidly closing in, and I wondered if we were ready for the Olympics at all. And I got to admit to you, I had a lot of doubts. I didn't think we were going to make it. And I had to eat my words, thank God. But we could see that the tanks and the mirrors at Princeton were perfect as our attempt grew. So what we did is quietly we went to the tanks to smoothly learn various water speeds and yet be surgical and crisp, and posture was relearned. This small group of men got smoother and smoother and far more efficient in their stroke endings each time they came to the tanks. The reports from the morning workouts showed carryover progress. These tank programs were helping early selections and confidence by the coaches. The value of this thing grows exponentially. The tankers, as we call them, did so well that they were clearly improving up the ladder. And when the tankers were all together in one boat, that boat damn well flew. And now we were learning something as coaches. The men had new skills and new pride, and they were more efficient than before. The coaches could see this happening, and it made them smile for a change, because we weren't smiling very much in those days. Many of these experienced guys, Matt Deacon, Torgeson, Jason Reed, Dan Beery, Cox Peter Cipollone, who ran these brief sessions with us, were in Mike's Big Eight, all as a group. They made the top 8 and to go to Athens, to Greece. We knew then that the borrowed tanks made a significant contribution to that Olympic and U.S. gold effort. Back at Penn, we always wondered what benefits our Penn crews could realize if they had the modern tanks, and if they had solid testing opportunities, and had direct winter and spring and aggressive attention. And how about doing it on campus when the weather is terrible? Now, thanks to our donors, no more excuses, no more endurance fall off at Pennsylvania, no loss of time on crew buses. Oh, there's something. Supposing that we didn't. Yeah, okay. Anyway, coaches have options now for that time use that used to be on the bus, or other things, economically, so we can train in this beautiful vicinity, we'll call it. I'll be back shortly after at the podium here to tell you a great story of glory of Pennsylvania, yay. And it's kind of a fun thing, so please do stay around. I'm so happy that this thing has reached where it is. I thank everybody who's here, everybody who donated, and everybody who's gonna, and this is not a fundraising drive, by the way, but just the fact is, if you turn around and you look deep into the aisles here, you see Pennsylvania at its finest. Let's make sure we keep it growing. This is the turn now. It's up to us to keep it going. I'll talk to you shortly. Thank you.
What an act to follow. I am Tim House. I am the new Major Gift Officer. Like Ted said, make sure that this thing continues to grow in the right direction. I came at quite a great time. What a special fit to walk into this rowing community and really to get to work with these coaches to put on this special evening. I'm just up here to say a few words of thanks on behalf of the athletics department. I just want to thank everybody that came out. This is such a special celebration of all of Penn rowing. For me to show up and to see the heavyweight program, the lightweight program, and the women's program all work together to make this special venue happen and make this special evening celebrating such an historic program that I'm so lucky to be a part of, that our entire staff is lucky to be a part of. It's special, and we all want to thank you. There's a few members in particular of the group here I want to thank. Bruce, thank you for being our MC. John Chatzky, I don't know, where are you? This man is to be commended. I mean, he did so much work behind the scenes to make this happen. To come in here, if Lauren and I didn't have you, I mean, this just wouldn't be going on. So thank you very, very much. And then I have to thank my teammate, my colleague, Warren Beat. I mean, especially for Elizabeth, he outworks everybody in this building, and you guys should be proud to call him one of your own. Anyways, I do feel very fortunate to be here. I thank you all for being here. There's other members of our staff. Tony Vecchione oversees this program. My boss, Scarlett Schmidt, is really pushing to do some special things with this program. Please introduce yourselves to them. We're all honored to be working with you, and we just thank you so much for coming out tonight. And with that, I'll pass it along to our coaches. All right, Coach Myhr.
So much for coming out tonight, and of course for everything that you've done for building this place. It couldn't have happened on a more appropriate winter, as it's maybe the coldest, iciest winter we've had so far, at least in my memory. Certainly probably not in some of yours, but it's one of the things we use this for besides training, and I've heard this from several alums tonight, is that this is clearly a big recruiting this is a recruiting draw. This is a major spot on our recruiting tours, if you will. One of the things that I hammer in recruiting is that not only is there a history here of people going on to do incredible things, both in rowing and also in industry and business and you name it, but phenomenal history here at the university. But we enjoy, I think, probably the best support of any school in the country. And we have not only generous donors, but generous donors who care and want to be involved and want to come back and enjoy it, and they want to give back. I'm going to break the light here, sorry, Coach. And that's, this is an incredible demonstration, I think, of that. And I'm not sure if I'm supposed to admit this or not, but this facility almost didn't happen. This was, the building itself was being renovated, was being planned, talked about it, and then actually one of our development staff said, hey, and this is a fairly late meeting, hey, what about the rowing? What about the basement? And everyone stopped and said, well, what about it? And the next, as far as I understand it, the next thing that happened was they said, all right, well then you need to raise the money, and you need to raise it like tomorrow. And there are folks in this room, and you know who you are, that stepped up, not just generously, but generously with no lead time. And that to me is a phenomenal thing. And the second part of that, and I think this is beautiful, and it bodes so well going forward for the entire program here, is that we had folks from the women's team, from the lightweight team, and from the heavyweight team that all stepped up. This was a group effort, and it was a quick effort, and it was an amazing demonstration of what we have here at Penn. And if you look around the country, the teams that are successful not just at one level. It's not just the lightweights. It's not just the women. The entire boathouse is successful. It's the lightweights, the women's lightweights if they have them, and it's the heavyweights. And success breeds success, and that's what we're going for. And I'm going to steal this from the squash coach's speech last weekend, who said, I'm going to make this very simple. What we're doing here is we're going for national championships. And we're doing it as quickly, as hard as we can go, 100 miles an hour, and finding the direction that we can go. And thank you for being there to help us make that happen. It's huge. Appreciate it.
Welcome. I was told to keep this short. Those of you who know me know that I tend to talk a lot. So I jotted some notes down, so let's see if that keeps me on point. I would like to talk a little bit about this facility in respect to the fact that it's brought all three teams together. When I arrived here at Penn 11 years ago, things were pretty separate at the time. And this facility, not only from a fundraising standpoint, not only from a working out standpoint, not only from a coaching standpoint, it's brought everyone together. And as I stood down here this morning and ran practice, we had the class of 2012 back, along with a smattering of women alums. I got to look at those women and feel almost like a proud father to have them back here, have all of you back here celebrating this fine facility, especially the class of 2012 for helping make this happen. I couldn't be more proud of all the women that I've coached here, and I couldn't be more proud to see this room filled with people. It's a great energy. Normally I'm sort of the funny fat guy, but Bruce stole my joke, so I'm not going to be funny tonight. But I'd like to thank all of you for coming out and supporting Penn Rowing. Nick?
Nick Baker, I'm the head lightweight rowing coach. I just want to take a quick opportunity here, and I'm sure Greg and Mike would have if they realized they hadn't. But I want to thank my assistant coaches, Colin and Matt. I want to thank their significant others. Thank Ed and James and everybody, Mike. I want to take and I want to thank all of you, the people in this room, as Greg pointed out, that made this a possibility. This is completely night and day from what it was before. If you haven't been down here in a long time, you may not remember how bad it was. We used to call it the dungeon down here. I'm sure many of you called it the dungeon. I can't imagine that anyone going forward would ever call this a dungeon. This is a game maker for us, for our program, in not only recruiting, but in our training aspect down here as well. You as alumni, we hear many times that you demand success for us and excellence for us. And I'm not proud to say it, but we don't always get to that point at the end of the season. But what I can say without a doubt, the department and you as alumni that came together to make this facility, you made this excellent. This facility could not be any better than what it is right now. And we are so proud and privileged to be able to train in this facility. This is going to make the difference for Penn crew across the board for years and years to come. So just like to thank all of you that made it a possibility and all of you that can join us today. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Chatzky here, and he's going to talk about talent.
Wait a minute. No, take it.
The agenda calls for me to introduce Ted. Since I never steered straight a day in my life, I'm gonna veer off course for a little while here. The only thing I've had the honor and privilege in the past of introducing Ted, so I can keep it really, really, really short and say that I simply love and respect Ted unconditionally as much or more than I love anyone else in this world. He is, other than my father, the most important male influence in my life. And as I read through the attendee list, I would say that there are no less than 6 people here, men and women, who, if they thought about it, would say the exact same thing. So that is my introduction to Ted.